Now students, I have already told about the ethamsalate in the last PPT and in the last video. Now these are side effects are nausea, rash, headache and fall in blood pressure only after IV injection. This is the ethamsalate. Then after ethamsalate we have to go for the aprotinin. This is the inhibitors plasmin, kallikrein and platelet activation through the aprotinin. Used for hyperplasminemia caused by the fibrinolytic drug overuse and to prevent blood loss from cardiac bypass surgery. So when there is a bypass surgery, cardiac bypass surgery, there is a loss of the blood, and at that time we give the aprotinin. It inhibits the plasmin. So routine we have, it is a plant glycoside claimed to reduce the capillary bleeding. Local hemostats we give, it is given in the KD Tripathi, page number 662 and 663, but I am enumerating some. And then local hemostatics we call the steptics, astringents, adrenaline 0.1%, thrombin, fibrin, gelatin, calcium, alginate, oxidized cellulose, hemocoagulase. These are the agents which are called as the steptics. And then we have just arterioles, smaller blood vessels to form plug, and finally dissolve clot by fibrinolysis used in the tooth socket abrasions. So this is given. Now we have anticoagulants. So anticoagulants, we know it is drugs affecting coagulation. Anticoagulants, we are having two subheads: parenteral anticoagulants and oral anticoagulants. From parentals it is divided in two, and it is called the indirect thrombin inhibitors and direct thrombin inhibitors. In that indirect thrombin inhibitors is heparin, unfractionated, that is the UF. Low molecular weight heparin we have enoxaparin. This is parin lost, you remember this. Enoxaparin, rivaparin, nadoparin and dalteparin, parnaparin and ardaparin, fondaparinox, it is synthetic. And then we have a danaparoid. And direct thrombin inhibitors we have lipiuridine, bivaluridine, argatroban. Then we have oral anticoagulants. It is of the three headings. We can have coumarin derivatives. Under this head we have bis-hydroxycoumarin, dicumarol, warfarin, sodium. This is very important. Acinocoumarin, nicomolone, ethyl bis-comoestate. Then there is a direct effector. This is 10A inhibitor, rivaroxaban. And then we have a dried oral direct thrombin inhibitors. We have dabigatran, etaxylate. And then indandione, we have phenindione. Phenindione, these are the oral ones. And so you have to remember ones for all these by heart. And you have to have a first, it's a prototype you have to describe. Now then, heparin and its derivatives. Heparin, a glycosaminoglycan found in the secretory granules of the mast cells, is synthesized from UDP sugar precursors as a polymer of alternating D-glucuronic acid and N-acetyl D-glucosamine residues. Heparin is artificially extracted from porcine intestinal mucosa, which is rich in mast cells. So I can tell you here features: heparin, low molecular weight, and another is synthetic fondaparinux. You will remember the sources. It is biological heparin and biological low molecular weight, and this is synthetic. Molecular weight, Daltons, we have 15,000 Daltons heparin. It is very high molecular weight, and 5,000 is low molecular weight heparin, and 1,500 is synthetic. And target is here, it is 10A and 2A activating it factor, it heparin effects on that, and also low molecular weight effects on the same. But so far as synthetic fondaparinux is concerned, it is only the 10A. Viability is 30%, 90%, 100%. You have to remember. Half-life is 1, 4, and 17 hours. And this is the long-acting fondaparinux. And renal excretion is not through renal heparin. It is yes, it is through the kidney, and yes, it is through the kidney. Antidote, we have a complete antidote for heparin, and then there is a partial, there is none. So it is through the protamine, and then it is complete, it is partial, it is none. Thrombocytopenia is less than 5%, less than 1%, and less than 1% is synthetic. So heparin derivatives are fragments of the heparin, ranging in molecular weight from 1 to 10 kilodaltons. Low molecular weight preparations differ from the heparin and to a lesser extent from each other in their pharmacokinetic properties. So you have to remember this comparatively. What are the kinetic parameters? You have to remember these things. Now, molecular mechanism of action. Heparin binds to antithrombin 3, induces a conformational change in antithrombin that renders its reactive site more accessible to the target protease. So antithrombin inhibits activated coagulation factors like these activated factors, like we have a 10, second, and then we have a 9, and then X1A and 12A, and these 13A, and in the intrinsic and common pathway. So it is the 8, this is the 10, this is second, this is the 9th, this is the 11th, this is the 12th, and 13A in the intrinsic and common pathway, both pathway acts. So then this induces a conformational change in the reactive center loop of the antithrombin that accelerates its interaction with factor 10A and second A. So this conformational change just enhances to potentiate the thrombin inhibition. At low concentration of heparin, factor 10A mediated conversion of the prothrombin to thrombin is selectively affected. So prothrombin to thrombin, this reaction is being inhibited. The anticoagulant action is exerted mainly by the inhibition of the factor 10A as well as thrombin second A, mediated conversion of the fibrinogen to fibrin. So this is here, you see, this is the this heparin, and then this is the plasminogen, this thing, and then it comes to this pathway. Then there's at the last there's the inhibition of the thrombin. So this you have to go through again and again, so that it is potentiating effect is pronounced, and then there is a conversion. There is the inhibition of the conversion of the fibrinogen to fibrin. It is not formed. Now, other pharmacological properties. High dose of heparin can intervene with platelet aggregation also, and thereby prolong the bleeding time. So in high doses. Lipoprotein lipase hydrolyzes triglycerides to glycerol and free fatty acids. Heparin clears lipemic plasma in vivo by causing the release of the lipoprotein lipase into the circulation. So lipoprotein it goes the circulation. Now, low molecular weight heparin. Predominant effect is on 10A. Low molecular weight heparins have greater anti-factor 10A activity than anti-factor second A. So it is more pronounced on the 10A. And the ratio ranges from 3:1 to 2:1, depending on the preparation. Given by subcutaneous route and have a greater half-life. So you have to remember low molecular weight, that I have already told. So fondoxyparinox. It is a synthetic analog derivative of the heparin. It causes selective inhibition of the factor 10A without binding thrombin. So there is no thrombin. Does not show any effect on thrombin itself due to its shorter polymer length. It has lesser antiplatelet effect, hence chances of the bleeding is minimal. So this fondoxyparinox is very synthetic. It is very useful, and it does not have that much side effects as is to the heparin. Now, low molecular weight preparation, we have enoxaparin, dalteparin, tinzaparin, arteparin, nadroparin, and rivaparin, not absorbed through the GI mucosa, and thereby must be given parenterally. So we don't give it through GI. Low molecular weight and fondaparin are absorbed more uniformly after subcutaneous. So they are being absorbed uniformly once it is given the subcutaneous. Heparin appears to be cleared and degraded primarily by the reticuloendothelial system. A small amount of the undegraded heparin also appears in the urine. So it also comes in the urine. So we have to have the toxicity and adverse effects. Bleeding. Major bleeding occurs in 1 to 5% of the patients treated with the intravenous heparin or for venous thromboembolism. So incidence of bleeding is proportionate to the degree of the prolongation of the APTT, activated prothrombin time. If life-threatening hemorrhage occurs, the effect of the heparin can be reversed quickly by the intravenous infusion of the protamine sulfate. So it is antagonistic. A mixture of the basic polypeptide isolated from salmon sperm, protamine binds tightly to the heparin and thereby neutralize its anticoagulant effect. Heparin induces thrombocytopenia. Heparin induces thrombocytopenia. Platelet count when is less than 1,50,000 per ml, or a 50% decrease from the pre-treatment value occurs in 0.5% of the medical patients 5 to 10 days after initiation of the therapy with heparin. Abnormalities of the hepatic function test. Risk of the osteoporosis is lower with low molecular weight or fondaparinux than it is with the heparin. So you have to remember the advantages of the fondaparinux. This is a synthetic one. Now, contraindication. Bleeding disorders, history of the heparin induces thrombocytopenia, severe hypertension, risk of the cerebral hemorrhage is there, threatened abortion, piles, GI ulcers, risk of the aggravated bleeding is because of this. Subacute bacterial endocarditis, risk of the embolism, large malignancy, risk of the bleeding in the central necrosed areas of the tumor, tuberculosis, risk of the hemoptysis, ocular and neurosurgery lumbar puncture is there. Chronic alcoholics, we have a cirrhosis, renal failure. Aspirin and other antiplatelet drugs should be used very cautiously during heparin therapy. So these are the contraindications where we should be very much cautious. Now, heparin antagonists, you will be asked this question also sometimes, protamine sulfate. The effect of the heparin can be reversed quickly by the intravenous infusion of the protamine sulfate, a mixture of the basic polypeptides isolated from the salmon sperms. Protamine binds tightly to the heparin and thereby neutralizes its anticoagulant effect. Dosage is 1 milligram protamine sulfate for 100 units of the heparin. Protamine only binds long heparin molecules. Therefore, protamine only partially reverses the anticoagulant activity of the low molecular weight heparins and has no effect on that of fondaparinux. Now, parenteral. Now, this was the oral, now this is the parenteral. Parenteral anticoagulants. Hirudin is a specific irreversible inhibitor of the thrombin obtained from the salivary gland of the leech. Lipiridin is the recombinant form of the hirudin, used as the anticoagulant in heparin-induced thrombocytopenia and associated thromboembolic disease. It has an off-label use in the prevention of the ischemic complications associated with unstable angina. Side effects, we have hemorrhage, hematuria, and increased transminases because of the enzymes and the LFT. Now, other parenteral anticoagulants, we have droticorogin alpha human recombinant protein C is the inhibitor of the 5A and 8A, used as an anticoagulant and decreases mortality risk from severe sepsis. Then we have a disuridine, a direct thrombin inhibitor. Disuridine is indicated for the prophylaxis of the DVT, deep venous thrombosis, in patients undergoing elective hip replacement surgery. Then we have a bivaleuridine, a direct thrombin inhibitor, used as an alternative to heparin in patients undergoing percutaneous coronary angioplasty or cardiopulmonary bypass surgery. Then we have a argatropoban, a direct thrombin inhibitor, used in heparin-induced thrombocytopenia, high risk of the bleeding, monitoring of the APTT, activated prothrombin time, and PT, prothrombin time. Then we have a danaparoid, inhibits the activation of the factor 10A, used for the treatment of the heparin-induced thrombocytopenia and post-operative DVT. Now, direct activator 10A inhibitors that we call the rivaroxaban and apixaban. It is an orally active direct inhibitor of the activated factor 10A, which has become available for prophylaxis and treatment of the DVT, deep venous thrombosis. Its anticoagulant action develops rapidly within 3 to 4 hours of the ingestion and lasts for 24 hours. It requires no laboratory monitoring of a PT or APTT and is recommended in a fixed dose of 10 mg once daily starting 6 to 10 hours after the surgery for prophylaxis of the venous thromboembolism following total knee hips replacement. In comparative trials, its efficacy has been found similar to regime of the low molecular weight heparin followed by the warfarin. Rivaroxaban has also been found equally effective as warfarin for preventing stroke in patients with atrial fibrillation. Side effects reported are bleeding, nausea, hypotension, tachycardia, and edema. Now, oral direct thrombin inhibitors, we have dabigatran, etexeloate. It is a prodrug which after oral administration is rapidly hydrolyzed to dabigatran, direct thrombin inhibitor, which reversibly blocks the catalytic site of the thrombin and produces a rapid within 2 hours anticoagulant action. In the UK, Canada, and Europe, it is approved for the prevention of the venous thromboembolism following hip knee surgery replacement. Administered in a dose of 110 mg, and that is 75 mg for elderly and more than 75 years, once daily, it has been found comparable to warfarin. In another large trial, dabigatran etexelate 150 mg twice daily has yielded superior results to warfarin for prevention of the embolism and stroke in patients of atrial fibrillation. In the USA, it is approved for this indication. Adverse effects are bleeding and less commonly hepatobiliary disorders. Now this is the oral anticoagulant warfarin and related compounds. Chemically, various derivatives of 4-hydroxycoumarin are available and have activity as vitamin K antagonists. Like these are the oral anticoagulants like warfarin. Now, mechanism of action I told you, and there is it effects. They inhibit the enzyme vitamin K epoxide reductase, that's called VKOR, and interferes with the regeneration of the active hydroxyquinone form of vitamin K, which acts as a cofactor for the enzyme gamma glutamyl carboxylase that carries out the final step of the gamma carboxylation glutamate residues of the prothrombin and factor 7, and we have 9 and 10. So this is the inhibition. This epoxide is over here in the lower side. So you have to remember this reaction once for all, and then you will remember the mechanism of action of the warfarin. Now, pharmacological properties. The usual adult dosage of warfarin is 2 to 5 mg per day for 2 to 4 days, followed by 1 to 10 mg maintenance dose as indicated by the measurement of the international normalized ratio INR. Because of the long half-life we have, some of the coagulation factors, in particular factors 2 and full antithrombotic effect of the warfarin is not achieved for several days because it has a long half-life. Warfarin also can be given intravenously without modification of the dose. Intramuscular injection is not recommended because of the risk of the hematoma formation. So we cannot give the intramuscular IM. Now, drug polymorphism. This is very important so far as the drug-drug interaction is concerned. Polymorphism in two genes, CYP2C9 and vitamin K reductase, vitamin K epoxide reductase complex subunit 1 account for most of the genetic contribution to the variability in warfarin response. CYP2C9 pharmacokinetics, common variation in the CYP2C9 gene are associated with higher drug concentration and reduced warfarin dose requirements. Then we have pharmacodynamics. Polymorphism in vitamin K, reductase, vitamin K, epoxide reductase explains the 30% of the variability in warfarin dose requirement. So pharmacodynamic 30%, and then maximum we have CYP2C9 pharmacokinetic this thing. Uses treatment and prevention of the deep venous thrombosis in bedridden immobilized patients, old people, post-operative, post-stroke patients, leg fractures, elective surgery, ischemic heart disease, unstable angina, after myocardial infarction, after angioplasty, CABG, stent replacement, prevent recurrence. And then we have other things also.